My earliest memories are a confusion, a build-up of dark, damp stables, the noise of rats scurrying across the beams above my head, the scraping of broom heads that swept the floors, along with the clangs of metal from the, I believe, farriers, as they say. I remember various parts of my life. It's all a bit of a blur now that I'm 25. I remember being a gangly, leggy colt who loved being by my mother's side. She was a big Welsh, which was quite evident in her fore and hind quarters. She always had a wild look in her eyes, which I think passed on to me, as I was always running around until I was exhausted. I spent my early years in and out of fields full of rich green grass. I would often lay in the summer sun with the buttercups towering above my head as it rested on the ground. A couple of years later, I began to grow more handsome. My rich chestnut coat had grown fine and soft. I had 4 white socks that, I guess in a way, made me look like a cheeky young man, along with the white blaze down my face. It was quite evident that I was a Welsh pony. There I had 4 tufts of hair that curled under my fetlocks, and I knew that when I stood tall with my ears pricked, I could bring out the Arab in me. From what I remember, I lived quite a happy young life. Being turned out in the field was my favourite thing to do, as I could run out to my heart's content. I started being stabled, and instead of being in the barn, it was full of straw that I could just collapse in. I had a bucket of water and something I considered was dinner. That I got every night about 5 o'clock. The only thing missing was my mother. She had been sold about 2 years earlier. This was one of the hardest parts of my life, which I do not like to think about now. But all of this free time faded when I was about 4 years old. I remember this day as it was inevitable the start of my life. Those of you who don't know what breaking in is, I will describe it. To break a horse, it is taught to wear a saddle and bridle, to allow to carry a man, woman or child, to go where the rider wishes, and to do so quietly. Then he must be taught to move in 3 paces: walk, trot and canter. Gallop was an optional extra, of course. So overall, this breaking in is a great thing. Of course, I was used to a halter and being led in from the fields quietly, but then from what I could remember, I was to have a bit in my mouth. My master gave me a nice bucket of oats when I did something right, I presumed, but I think it was to coax the bit into my mouth. And so, with a gentle pat and encouragement of the oats, I got to wear my bit and bridle. Next came the saddle, not half as bad. It was put on my back very gently. I had a few oats to encourage me, whilst my master tightened the girth under my belly. This was done a few times, when my master would lean over my back before getting on me. He rode me round this fenced area, full of what seemed to be rubber, which felt soft under my feet. It certainly did feel peculiar, but I must say I felt rather proud to carry my master, and he continued to ride me a little every day. I soon became accustomed to it. Though it did not stop there. The next unpleasant business was the iron shoes. The farrier felt down my leg as I picked up my leg, where he would cut and file away at my hoof. It did not pain me, but I felt rather relaxed after a few attempts. He then took a shoe of the same size as my hoof and clapped it on and drove nails through it. Smoke filled the barn. My feet felt very stiff and heavy, but like before, with some time I got used to it, and I felt very grown up. I stayed in this place until I was 10 years old. I was stood in the stable where my coat was brushed every day till it shone. I was tacked up and ridden out often by the young man that had broken me, and occasionally by his children. When I wasn't being naughty, he would ride me for miles, often in the farmer's field where the sheep would be. We would gallop through as partners. It was definitely a wonderful place and a wonderful life where I could just be a horse. One day a young boy came to look at me. He was around 10 years old and was with his mother. He was after his first pony, and I guess I was going to be that. I was tried and tested and brought that same day. He seemed decent, but I wasn't going to make his life easy. But it was at his new home that I learnt a lot. I had new company. Jem, she was called. She was quite a bit older than me and a lot wiser. She would often tell me off when I played up, but it was here that I got lots of attention. I was ridden in a big field with the company of Jem, where we would follow each other. I was even taught how to jump and get taken out to shows where I would compete against other horses. I was quite happy in my new place. All who had to do with me were good, and had a light, airy stable and the best of food. What more could I want? You could say liberty, but this was plentiful. For my previous years I had all the liberty I could wish for. Though not terrible now, week after week, I must stand up in my stable day and night, or in the field, except when I am wanted. And then I must, as steady and quiet as an old horse who had worked 20 years, I must wear my saddle and bridle, canter round the field and jump over jumps. I was happy though. After not being ridden for a couple of days, I could feel I could jump and prance around the arena and shake my head, but had to keep the boy on, of course. Though as I grew older, 19 to be exact, my new owner took me out and became too big and less interested. It was time to be moved on to a new home. A girl of similar age, but smaller, had been looking after me every now and then when the boy was away. She would offer me the same affection and attention as he would. I knew she loved me, but he, being me, grumpy, unfortunately I could not show her the affection she wanted. I had to try and bite her and nudge her out of the way, but she would never get the picture. She ignored it, but it was she that was my new owner. I was moved to a new stable. It was different from my last home, as there were a great deal more horses there. But it was here that I have spent my best years. From the age of 19, this girl loved me to bits. She would be here every morning, where she would bring me out of my stable, groom me for hours and turn me out to the field. I would run around with the others all day long and stuff my face full of grass. By dinner time she would bring me into the stable and had me mucked out and hay net tied up. She would often ride me. I remember the summer evenings when she would saddle up and we go riding round the track. There was always a good spot where we would have a cheeky gallop. I knew this bit was coming every time, so I would be very excited. She practiced her jumping, slowly getting higher and higher, but not pushing it. When we would end up the day, but a quick brush off and back to bed with my dinner. That was my favourite part of the day, dinner time. But it's here that I appreciate the life I have had, when I hear stories from my fellow friends that have been passed down about horses that were used in the war to pull the artillery or fight in battlefields. I have an easy life. I enjoy standing out in the fields in the day with the summer breeze and warm sunshine on my back. I enjoy the rides and the hours of being groomed. I enjoy standing in my stable with my big straw bed and my dinner. I enjoy my life.